Hey everyone, welcome to our channel. Today I'll be sharing a 2011 action drama mystery film with you. The story revolves around Captain Coulter Stevens, an army pilot who wakes up on a train heading to Chicago, feeling disoriented.
I took your advice. It was very good advice. Sean.
Christina approaches him, calling him Sean, but Coulter doesn't recognize her. As he looks around the train, Coulter is too distracted to respond when the conductor asks for his ticket. He becomes nervous when Christina tries to help him find his ticket and doesn't know why he's acting strange. Coulter eventually goes to the bathroom to collect himself, but when he sees his reflection in the mirror, he realizes that he looks completely different. Upon returning to his seat, Coulter informs Christina that he doesn't know who Sean or she is. The train suddenly explodes.
Talk to me, Sean.
Look, I don't know who Sean is, and I don't know who you are.
Leaving Coulter in a different place where a woman's voice greets him, asking if he's okay and associated with beleaguered castle. She inquires about the explosion and what happened on the train, but Coulter is still confused and unable to respond. The woman appears on a screen and tells Coulter that they will rebuild his memory pattern through a mnemonic procedure. While she reads a passage, Coulter becomes distracted and tries to get out of his seat. Eventually, he remembers parts of the exercise and repeats what he heard, including the woman's name, Goodwin. Although Coulter asks to speak with his father, Goodwin continues to ask him about the train explosion. Dr. Rutledge briefly appears on the screen before disappearing. Goodwin reveals to Coulter that Christina calling him by a different name is significant. He still doesn't know who bombed the train, so she sends him back for 8 minutes to gather more information. Coulter believes he's in a simulation, but Goodwin won't disclose his status. Back on the train, Christina talks about quitting her job and taking the LSAT. Coulter notices the realistic details and sets a timer on his watch. He scans the train for anything unusual, suspecting a potential bomber. After talking to a comedian, Coulter sees a student returning a wallet and remembers that the explosion came from behind him. Coulter goes to the train's bathroom and discovers that the vent has been tampered with. He talks to Goodwin, seeking guidance on how to proceed with the bomb he found. Coulter leaves the bomb and tricks the passengers into thinking he's a transit security officer. He instructs them to turn off their electronic devices, but not everyone complies. As the train explodes, Christina tries to help a man whose laptop Coulter closed and broke, but he tells her that they're not real. Goodwin tells Coulter to stabilize his pulse and asks if he found the bomb. Coulter wants to speak with Dr. Rutledge, his commanding officer, and discovers that he's been away for 2 months, not 2 days. Despite his confusion, Coulter answers Goodwin's questions about the situation. Goodwin assures Coulter that he's not in a simulation and that real lives are in danger. He wants more information before proceeding with the mission, and Goodwin asks Dr. Rutledge for permission to share more details. She explains that the train Coulter was on had already exploded, and there are more attacks planned. Sean Ventrick was on that train, and Coulter needs to find him. Coulter reveals the bomb's location and the type of detonator used. Goodwin explains that the bomb was timed to explode as a freight train passed by. The bomber must have been nearby to time the explosion correctly. Goodwin instructs Coulter to focus on the passengers and follow her directions. Coulter wakes up on the train, and during a conversation, a woman spills coffee on Christina's shoes. Coulter believes she's real when she responds kindly to the situation. Coulter asks the conductor and Christina if anyone looks suspicious on the train, but she thinks it's a game. When a man comes out of the bathroom, Christina comments on his race, making Coulter think twice. He searches Sean's belongings, but only finds her name in a notebook. Coulter wants to follow the man he saw earlier and makes Christina wait outside while he investigates. He hears the man getting sick in the stall and feels uneasy while inspecting it. The man exits, and Coulter asks to borrow his phone. Coulter confronts the man he suspects of being the bomber, but the man refuses to show him his phone and leaves. Suddenly, the bomb explodes, and Coulter chases after him again. The man pushes Coulter onto the tracks, and he's hit by a train. Coulter awakens in another place but can't hear Goodwin. The area is cold and shutting down. Goodwin's colleague informs her that Coulter is in the system. They consult with Rutledge, who advises them to continue sending signals to Coulter and observe his response. Coulter finds a toolkit and restores power to the area. He hears distorted voices as Rutledge works on Goodwin's computer. Coulter hears her reading the passage and calls out to her as Rutledge prepares to leave. The doctor confirms that Coulter is inside the invention he created. Coulter informs Rutledge that he saved a passenger from the train, but Goodwin returns and explains that saving people is not part of his mission. Coulter argues that he already saved someone, but Rutledge clarifies that she only survived in the source code, a parallel reality accessed through Sean Ferris's eyes. Coulter insists on saving someone and asks for Christina's name, but Goodwin reveals that she died in the morning's explosion. Despite his confusion, Coulter needs to return to prevent a second attack in Chicago using a dirty bomb. If he can identify the first bomber, they may prevent the second attack. Goodwin instructs Coulter to locate a handgun on the train and use whatever force necessary. Coulter wakes up on the train and talks with Christina, developing feelings for her. Despite this, he must focus on his mission and searches for the gun, but the conductor catches him. Coulter points the gun at the conductor, and the second conductor electrocutes him. Coulter wakes up again on the train, knowing he's running out of time. He asks Christina what she would do with 1 minute left to live.
What would you do if you knew you had less than 8 minutes to live?
I'd make those seconds count.
She reassures him, and the bomb explodes again, and Coulter wakes up in the other place. Coulter experiences strange visions involving Christina and tells Goodwin that the gun was not a good idea. He asks to speak to his father, but she dismisses him and sends him back to search through the passengers' belongings. Coulter draws a military patch and asks Christina to look up his missing friend's name. He becomes suspicious of a man on the phone and searches his bag, then questions a woman with a bag from an Army medical center. She explains the patch stands for Air Force and the letters stand for Nellis. Coulter borrows Christina's phone and calls Nellis Air Force to speak with Rutledge. Christina informs Coulter that his friend was killed in action 2 months ago. Coulter has memories from Afghanistan and hears Goodwin's voice leading him through mnemonic exercises in the other place. Upon waking up, Coulter asks if he's dead, as he found an article online and heard about his father receiving a medal. Goodwin reveals that part of his brain is still active, but his body is a manifestation. Rutledge orders them to send Coulter back to the train to prevent another attack. Coulter expresses his disagreement with the source code and claims to have called Rutledge from the train. Rutledge denies receiving the call and explains that it would have been in a different reality. He defends the project, stating that many soldiers would prefer the opportunity to continue serving their country over death. Coulter argues that one death is enough for some soldiers. Rutledge promises to let him die if he completes the mission. Before sending him back to the train, Rutledge reminds Coulter that 2 million Americans depend on their success. He proceeds to send Coulter back repeatedly until he finds the bomber, without any rest periods. Coulter is manipulated by Rutledge into returning to the train. He quickly finds the bomb and removes the detonator phone, calling the only number on it. The person on the other end tells him to turn around, but Coulter threatens him with a gun. The man explains he was talking to his wife, so Coulter makes him call the phone again. He hears the phone ringing outside and follows the man, who he learns is Derek Frost, after jumping off the train. Coulter confronts Derek in a white van, showing him the second bomb. Derek shoots them both and explains his motive of destroying the world to rebuild it. He leaves Coulter alive, and the bomb on the train still explodes. Coulter tells Goodwin and Rutledge about the bomber in the van and confirms the second bomb is radio. They congratulate him and say his mission is complete, but Coulter asks to be sent back to save the people before he dies. The Army arrests Derek Frost, and Rutledge receives approval for his project. Goodwin explains to Coulter that he can't alter the past, but Coulter insists there's a failsafe on the explosive. He convinces Goodwin to send him back one last time to save Christina and the passengers. Goodwin agrees to terminate his life at the end of the source code. Coulter asks Christina out for coffee, then goes to disarm the bomb's detonators. Coulter handcuffs Derek, calls the police, and saves the day. Rutledge orders Goodwin to wipe Coulter's memory, but he doesn't want to let him die. Coulter calls his dad and apologizes before going back to the source code. Goodwin checks on Coulter's body and Rutledge tries to unlock his chamber. Goodwin waits for Coulter's final moments on the train. Coulter asks Christina what she would do if she had less than a minute to live. They kiss, and as Goodwin switches off his life support, the explosion never happens. Coulter's body is seen back on the train. Coulter and Christina take a walk to the Chicago Bean.
Why did he earn that money?
Yeah, he did.
He was funny.
Speaking of which, I have no cash.
And Coulter realizes that the visions he had when transitioning were of that same moment. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.